Topic number one of the conversation on over the weekend, Crimson Tide, its final preseason scrimmage of fall camp. And while most collegiate programs struggle to find one quarterback, you look at Georgia right now, Jamie Newman, you thought he would be the guy, he decides to opt out. So now Kirby Smart is looking at, is it going to be JT Daniels? Is it going to be Carson Beck? Is it going to be somebody else? They're trying to figure out who is the one quarterback we have that can play winning football. In the same way with LSU. After the magical run it had with Joe Burrow in 2019, you had players that got drafted, some decided to opt out. You had two coaches to leave, and now the Tigers are looking like, is Miles Brennan truly the guy? So with teams in the SEC having question marks at quarterback, for you guys out there, Crimson Tide Nation, Alabama's got three quarterbacks on this roster. All three can play winning football. Not a lot of people talk about Paul Tyson. He had a big-time scrimmage himself, and we'll get to him in a minute. But the two people that get the most of the conversation, Mac Jones and Bryce Young. You want to talk about two flamethrowers going pound for pound, round for round, bar for bar with each other in the final scrimmage of preseason camp. You know, both of these guys did a tremendous job. And I talked about it last week to end last week's show on Friday. This was a huge scrimmage for Bryce Young. Did not have spring practice because of the coronavirus pandemic. Coach Saban had to fight for the preseason practice program. This was not your typical average fall camp. And then, Bryce, no spring. He missed the first scrimmage due to illness there. He was at the live game practice at Bryant-Denny. Did okay, not great. But for him to be able to compartmentalize everything, put all of that behind him, and go out in the final scrimmage and find a way to control Nick Saban's attention, or get Nick Saban's attention, attract Coach Saban's eyeballs, if you will, show Coach Saban, hey, Coach, Mac Jones can do some things, yes. He's experienced, yes. Fourth year in the system, yes. Hard worker, yes, but let me take you to my side, Coach Saban. Let me show you to my hood, Coach Nick. Let me show you how Bryce Young gets down over here, and let me show you that I'm not a five-star for nothing. I'm not a U.S. Army All-America Bowl MVP for nothing. I'm not an Elite 11 quarterback for nothing. There's a lot of substance to me, and I remember we had Lavelle Durant, the elite quarterback developer out of Seattle, Washington, on last week, and he talked about how the biggest thing he wanted to see from Bryce was the patience. We know he's got an electric arm. We know he has a lot of athletic capabilities, but can he have the patience here in this second scrimmage, not force anything, not rush anything, take his time? And he did that in this exhibition, made some explosive plays, made some special plays, but this is also huge for Mac Jones because the model of consistency. Mac Jones showed you in the first scrimmage 3 touchdown passes, came back in the live action game-like practice, had a much better completion percentage, had a bigger day in that event, and then the final scrimmage, showing Nick Saban and the team, I got what it takes, I got what you need. I can put this team on my back and take it to the national championship and win that championship. So Coach Saban was very pleased with the entire offense, the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, the tight ends, but he saved some big praise here for these quarterbacks. So check this out. This was Coach Saban after the final scrimmage talking about the entire quarterback room, but more importantly, Mac Jones and Bryce Young.
They were very good today, very efficient, good completion percentages, threw for, some big plays, made some explosive plays in critical situations, made some, good plays in special situations. I think the offense was pretty good on third down, which always goes back to quarterback decision making and people getting open. So they played well.
And that was Alabama head football coach Nick Saban just giving some praise there to the quarterback room after the final scrimmage of preseason camp. And like I said, this was big for both guys. And especially when you talk, the guy that Bryce Young is the most compared to right now is Tua Tagovailoa. And Tua had more preseason opportunities than Young had. Remember, Tua got to Alabama between December 2016 and January of 2017, helping the Tide prepare for the second matchup, the rematch between Alabama and Clemson for a national championship. So Tua got on campus early. Then he had a full, fourth quarter program in the offseason. He had a full spring practice. We're talking 15 practices, an A-day game, numerous workout sessions, numerous times in the film room. And if you remember the spring game, that was the matchup that Tua and Jalen Hurts both looked like two gladiators exchanging blows. So before the season even started in 2017, Tua got a lot of preseason opportunities, and then he played quite a bit in the 2017 regular season, and it wasn't until the national championship game, second half of that game, where Coach Saban goes, "We love what you do, Jalen, but we got to have a spark here second half offensively," and that's where he went to Tua. So even though Tua had way more opportunities preseason than Bryce, it still took toward the national championship game for folks to really go, "That's the backup quarterback? Holy gosh, that's the backup quarterback?" It took to the national championship game for people to really be open and kind of sold there onto us. So now, with Bryce, he's in a good spot here. Didn't have spring, missed the first scrimmage, was okay in the preseason. It was okay in the practice-like situation, but to come back in the second scrimmage and play well, huge for Young. I still think Mac Jones starts. He's been here going on his fourth season. He's been in game action with bullets flying in the SEC, played well against Arkansas as a starter, played well against Auburn as a starting quarterback. People look at the 2 interceptions. Yes, I get it, but I always go back to, what does Nick Saban say? He says, "What's your resolve? How do you respond from a play? Do you let that ruin your entire day? Or are you able to put that in the back of your mind, go back out there, still ball out, still command the troops, still make plays out there on the football field?" And that's exactly what Mac Jones did. 335 passing yards and 4 touchdowns against the Tigers, and still put Alabama in position to win the football game. And that's what Coach Saban wants. He wants his quarterbacks keeping the team in position to win football games. And of course, against Michigan in the Citrus Bowl, Jones 16 for 27 passing for 327 yards and 3 touchdowns. So for me, right now, Mac starts until he shows that, hey, maybe the pressure's too much for me. Maybe the situation's too much for me. Maybe the stage is too big for me. Until he shows you that he is not the guy, that he is not capable, that he cannot command this offense or operate this offense, Mac Jones, to me, starting quarterback. But to see Bryce Young go out there and perform well, I know it's kind of too early to say this, but this kind of feels like part 2 from 2017 with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, in which Nick Saban's going, "Okay, I got quarterbacks on my roster that can play winning football. I got quarterbacks on my roster that can operate this offense. They got all the playmakers around them, running backs, receivers, tight ends, strong offensive line as well." So if you're an Alabama fan right now, you got to be giddy with glee. You got to be really happy about this because, like I mentioned, you got LSU wondering, okay, is Miles Brennan it or not? Is it Miles Brennan or not? Like, do we have to go to a second person here? When you look at Georgia, is it JT Daniels? Is it Carson Beck? Are we dealing with the little engine that could, and we're on fire right now? We don't know what to do. So Georgia's got their issues right there. Texas A&M, you're wondering, is Kellen Mond the guy, or should we look for another? Ole Miss, it's got John Rice Plumlee, but they're trying to see, can he pass the football? Can he be an effective thrower of the football? He can run it now, but can Plumlee be an effective passer of the football? Tennessee's trying to find its quarterback. It thought it would be Jared Guarantano. That didn't work. Brian Maurer was pretty good as a freshman, but now here comes the Harrison Bailey young man, the high 4-star. They think he's the guy. And even down with Auburn, the question is, can Bo Nix take that next step, or will he get kind of caught in limbo here? So for a lot of quarterbacks in this conference, you're trying to locate one signal caller. You're trying to locate one quarterback. But with Alabama, you got 3 guys here that are highly capable of playing winning football. And even down to one Paul Tyson. I know a lot of people don't talk about Paul. he doesn't get a lot of attention in the page clicks and things of that nature. But Paul Tyson had a big scrimmage. He too, big completion percentage, explosive plays, effective plays, efficient plays. Heard from one credible source in particular, a number of these guys, but two in particular were like, he had a few big scoring drives himself. And Coach Saban mentioned this young man from Hewitt-Trussville High School in Alabama, around the Birmingham area, significantly improved. Paul Tyson significantly improved at the quarterback position. So the Tide, they got a lot of guys here on the roster. Got a lot of guys on the roster that they can go to. And during this time of the coronavirus pandemic, Coach Saban has mentioned, got to make sure you're developing multiple guys that can play. A lot of guys at a lot of positions because you don't really know what can happen. Knocking on wood, hopefully nobody gets hurt. Knocking on wood, hopefully nobody misses a whole bunch of time because David Ballou and Dr. Matt Ray have done a bang-up job as the new strength staff. But in the event that something was to happen, it is good to have, multiple guys be able to step up and play, various positions, especially at quarterback. So it's just good to see, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Paul Tyson all put up a good showing there in the final scrimmage of fall camp as, fall camp concluded on last week. And now Alabama, Coach Saban, this program has turned its attention to the matchup against Missouri. That game, once again, will be on Saturday, September 26th at Columbia. But this was huge for Bryce Young, him showing that, hey, yes, I missed the first scrimmage. Yes, I didn't have spring ball. Yes, I didn't play maybe my best in the game-like practice, but I came out here in the second scrimmage, the final exhibition. I showed Coach Saban, hey, I can maneuver this offense. I can make some explosive plays. I can do some big things. It was great to see Mac Jones say, young buck, hey, Bryce, young cat, young blood, no, you're good, son. No, you're good, but I'm still breathing. Mac 10, Mac Jizzle, still here. Still breathing, still throwing the football here. So it was good to see that consistency there from Mac Jones, and even Paul Tyson there putting up some numbers as well. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that down. We're just getting your chest warm here on a Monday. Upon our return, we entertain your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your questions right after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.